Hello, guys and gals, me Mutahar, and I made a few videos on a game called Star Citizen, and I firmly now really believe that this might just be by far the biggest scam in video games, okay? And I'm not really using that as a light term. You know, when you buy something, maybe like 5, 6, 7, at this point, 8, 9 years ago, you know, if you don't have something in your hand after you've given money away, at what point does it just become a scam? Okay, at what point can you just say that you got scammed out of your money and it is what it is? Now, before we go into it, Star Citizen is a game that I feel like is more consumed by cultists at this point than actual gamers. And again, I've made plenty of videos talking about Star Citizen. I've given this game a fair chance. I've played it extensively, and I can say that there's some fun to be had, okay? Star Citizen, for anybody that doesn't know, is the kind of game where you wake up from your bed, you take the elevator down to the main lobby, you go to the actual tram, you go all the way down to the spaceport, you collect your ship, you fly into space, and you do a whole bunch of jobs, okay? Some of them can be mundane. You might be taking an Amazon package from one point to another, might be cleaning out the trash, maybe you might actually go down and shoot something, and if you have friends playing with you, you can in fact do even more incredible things like fly more complicated ships. You can do more complicated missions. It's really like a life simulator more than it is just a space game, okay? Like you really do feel like a citizen of the stars. Now, I love me some space games, okay? In fact, I will buy anything on Steam as long as it has space in it, okay? For instance, I bought a game not a couple days ago called Cubic Odyssey, just because it allows you to go from planet to planet. It's like basically Minecraft in space with like a guided storyline. Love that game, okay? Absolutely enjoy it. You know, I've been scammed by games released like a decade ago, like Starforge, for instance, where that game never made it anywhere, but hey, just the prospect of going to space was important for me. I've been playing space games since I was a kid, okay? Games like Freelancer, games that take place just in space. If I can see a space map, that's enough for me. Now, again, for me, it's mostly like, you know, I'm born too early to explore the stars, born too late to fucking sail the seas, right? So I know in my lifetime, I ain't ever going to be seeing the goddamn space world, okay? But at least I can live vicariously through video games, which is exactly what video gaming is about, living vicariously. So, of course, Star Citizen, for anybody that doesn't know, started off with a simple but humble Kickstarter, okay? So, reclaim the stars in this exciting new space epic. And, of course, the game designer behind this is the infamous Chris Roberts, who you might have heard from games like Freelancer and Wing Commander, okay? Now, Chris Roberts is a visionary, okay? And unless you get, like, a Wrangler involved, Microsoft, these games never really end up coming out, okay? So now Chris started his company, Cloud Imperium Games, and, at first they asked for 500,000 US dollars, okay? Pretty humble goal, but obviously it takes a bit more money to make a video game that has you living in space, right? Now, initially they raised like $2.1 million, but Star Citizen has made far more money than that. In fact, one of the cool things that, the actual Cloud Imperium Games does is they show you how much money they make. So believe it or not, you might have heard a couple days ago, they made $800 million. Well, currently they're at $821 million. In fact, I think if I hit F5, we might even get into the big 822, huh? Oh, here we are, just crossed 822 million. So yeah, per day, these guys are making like, 1 million at worst. The worst day out of this week, $137,000, okay? Now, for any independent company that has not made a fucking published game yet, this is a crazy amount to be making, okay? There's a lot of talk of like, how much did GTA 6 cost to make? And when you see that trailer and people were sharing like, maybe it's like $2 billion, which maybe if you added everything like marketing, possibly. But, people are looking at balance sheets, people are looking at possible expenditures, and, there's decent posts where they say it's probably getting close to the $1 billion, maybe a little bit over. But remember, Rockstar isn't taking money in crowdfunding. They're making $10 billion over the course of 10 years through GTA 5, and using that to fund projects like Red Dead Redemption 2, and using that to fund GTA 6. So when you get this game, right, you're at least going to get a completed, good game. You're not buying something like 10 fucking years ago. We did not buy GTA 6 a decade ago and are still waiting for it to somehow materialize in front of us. No, Rockstar has made 2 trailers, one of them basically giving out the exact Release date, the set in stone date, things could still be delayed, but you get the point. So why are we talking about Star Citizen, and why do I personally believe it's a fucking scam now? Because we're about to look at monetization that would make EA come in their pants. It would make Activision jizz at the thoughts of what they can do. So for an independent company that has not shipped a game, they decided to add one feature to their game that pissed off the audience. They call it Flight Blades. Now, what is a Flight Blade, you might be asking? Well, a Flight Blade appears to be an actual upgrade, a side grade, that you can pay real money for to install onto your ships to basically change its stats. So if you read over here, this kit includes the top speed balanced and precision handling flight blades, ready for the RSI Scorpius ship series. So you buy this blade for this specific ship, and you can modify its actual statistics. Now, again, you might be like, wait, Muda, doesn't this seem kind of like pay to win? Like, doesn't it seem like, you can pay to make your ship better than the average players? Yeah, maybe. If you can affect things like top speed and maneuverability, I'm sure racing against other players who don't have these features, yeah, it probably sucks. So how much do these side grades cost? $31 Canadian. And by the way, I'm so glad that these are in stock, as if digital supplies just run out, right? This is not the only flight blade. So for other ships, like I believe I actually have this ship, I can pay for this, flight blade kit that can affect the top speed and the handling and whatnot. $54 Canadian. Now, of course, let's stop being like meme-tacular here. Maybe, just maybe, Muda, okay? Maybe let's look at the store right now. Because out of 10, 11 years, the fact that elevators still keep getting stuck in this game, the fact that shit still keeps breaking in this Star Citizen universe, if it's one thing that somehow manages to work, it's definitely the store option for sure. So some of these blade kits are like $88. And that, ladies and gentlemen, if you open up the $88, you might be like, well, do you even get like a ship with that? Yeah, you actually do. You get the actual Avenger Titan with that. So at least you get a ship for $88. But let me show you what's like hilarious. So some of these options, and I'm not joking with you, this is no joke. This Aegis Hammerhead is actually being charged for 1,008 Canadian dollars. Like, this store, if you were to show it to anybody that's outside the scope, they would think, oh my god, is Activision running? No, this is running from a company that has not shipped a final game yet. That's how insane this is. That's where the anger comes from, okay? And I actually haven't seen the Star Citizen community wake up and be this angry in quite a long while, and it makes total sense why they're mad. So if you open up one of the ships, like this is the Nautilus 10-year ship, right? So you look at it, this is a special event ship that comes with an exclusive 10-year insurance contract? Bro, you can't even give me a lifetime insurance package? Are you fucking high? It's a video game, brother. This is not the multiverse. I have seen crypto projects less testicle crunching than this. Okay. But here's where it gets funny. So you pay the $1,000 right now, okay? They give you the Nautilus, they give you a 120-month insurance, and they give you this industrial hangar, right? Read these 2 points. This is not a game package. Please note, a game package is required to play the game and fly or access your ships for $1,000. For $1,000. They don't even stick in the game license. They don't even let you access the game. Dude, $1,000? There is not a game that I know of that wouldn't at least give you access to your ship. Bro, if somebody is spending $1,000 on a ship, at least let them get access to the game. Now, maybe I'm sure this is like, maybe the only way to buy this is to also have access to the game as well too, which I'm not signed in, so I wouldn't necessarily know that right from here, but it's just crazy that for this price, this blurb is even mentioned. But here's the other thing below it, if you thought that was bad. So I've talked about this before, but a lot of the times these ships, they'll have these blurbs. This item is being offered as a limited vehicle concept pledge, which means the vehicle is currently in development and is not yet accessible as playable content. If you pledge for this vehicle, you'll be provided with a loaner vehicle for in-game use until it will be made available in a later patch. The loaner vehicle will be a current playable vehicle of similar approximate size and or function to the concept vehicle. So If you think, whoa, I really want the Nautilus, they haven't even made the fucking ship yet, okay? Bros, right now this is a JPEG, okay? All right, this is how much the ship currently exists. You're paying $1,000 for the eventuality of flying this thing. Like, do you? I want the most hardcore cultists to just like get out of the scope a little bit and just say what I said out loud and just like really think about it and be like, is that normal? Like, sure, you know, one thing that I will say is Star Citizen is a unique gameplay experience, and I would recommend, you know, there's free weekends. Right now, I think there's actually a free period. You can go to this website, you can go to RSI, you can register, you can actually download and play the game for free. And there are some things about this, right? Like, obviously, a lot of these ships that you see, if you know how to grind in the game, which, you know, if you really get into Star Citizen, grinding isn't that crazy of a task. It's actually pretty reminiscent of playing like Grand Theft Auto Online. I never buy shark cards, but I just earn enough in-game money through all the activities to buy all the stuff that I need to. So you can just buy a game license and play the game normally and earn your stuff, right? Like that's a thing you can do in Star Citizen. I don't want it to appear that these insane prices are prices that you have to pay to experience this product. Because again, these prices are geared, I would imagine, mainly towards the whales, right? Like there are whales who spend thousands, tens of thousands of dollars on this game purchasing standalone ships and vehicles for like hundreds of dollars, if not thousands of dollars. Okay, for some people, this is a commitment, you know? But if you're somebody that's purchasing Star Citizen right now, you can absolutely buy the cheapest game package and just start playing the game from there. And you can earn enough money to then purchase other like, you know, vehicles in the game or rent them so you can at least try them out instead of committing to these insane prices. I want to make that readily apparent. But obviously, one of the biggest field of controversies here was when you go to those actual, you know, Flight Blade packs, right? Now, what made these so bad that obviously, you know, Cloud Imperium Games was selling these things for like actual money, right? Like these Flight Blades alongside this Redeemer ship is $460, right? So the $460 includes that, I would say, pay to win, like ship modifying, like, you know, Flight Blade. And the thing is, when they introduced this, the backlash came because it wasn't something that you were able to earn in the game. It seems like the only way to get these packages were to actually purchase them from the actual store, which was so backlash-inducing that obviously even Cloud Imperium Games ended up coming out, and this was like May 16th that they said this, right? So this is like last weekend. They were like, throughout Star Citizen's evolution, one fundamental principle has remained paramount. Everything you pledge for to support our development will eventually be attainable through gameplay, okay? Your contribution helps push things forward, but your time in the verse should be equally rewarded. So they were pushing 11 patches this year instead of 4, yada, 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 yada. But they said the Flight Blades will be obtainable for actual in-game currency, so that's AUEC, in the next patch this June. So they followed our usual approach by offering early access, and after some reflection, don't say some reflection, like you got backlash, like the community rightfully felt shafted. We've decided that for smaller components like Flight Blades or bomb racks, they should be available in-game at the same time they appear on the store. Yeah, they should, because if you get actual gameplay benefits from this, you're just making an unfair experience to the people that don't want to pay more money for a game that is so far away from being fucking completed that you would be an idiot for giving them anything. Like, look at some of these bomb racks, for instance, too, right? Like, you're looking at a six-pack bomb rack for 78 Canadian dollars, okay? And what the fuck is this? It's a kit that includes bomb racks for a variety of ships. You know, in most video games, you just earn this. These are upgrades that you add to from like an in-game hangar. I mean, this is insanity, man. Like, we're paying the price of a full goddamn game for like a bomb rack that you attach to your goddamn ships. Like, what's good? Like, it's actually so insane, right? Like, go to Steam right now. Go to any Steam. Go to the storefront, right? For $78. You can just get, like, I could pick up System Shock 2 Remastered, which I probably will for like 35 bucks because this game is actually really goddamn good. There's so many, there's actual full goddamn games. You can get Dead Cells for 15 bucks and enjoy this more. You could buy RimWorld DLCs, which, you know, RimWorld itself is a goddamn like is a goddamn brain twister. You know, it's definitely a game you can sink your time into. But no, like just look at the sales. You can pick Cyberpunk, you can pick Baldur's Gate, you can pick Witcher 3 for like $6 right now. Red Dead for 20. These games will give you more fun times than just like this alpha build of a space game that is still so far away from completion that even the single player component, Squadron 42, I was excited to play Squadron 42. They say it's coming in 2026, and maybe it will. But at this point, I genuinely do not have any care that if it comes out, because 2026, like, aside from GTA 6 and other games that are actually slated to come out, I'm not really looking forward to this vaporware that I was hyped about when I was like 10 years ago, when I was a much younger man. Now it's like, you know, the game isn't here, the game isn't out. You know, people have bought packages that they were just sitting on for years without ever having anything tangibly delivered. At what point does this go from, you know, a future game that people are hopeful for to an actual honest to God scam? Because I really think like we're at the actual scam component. You are reaching a point where the total like amount of money raised is $800 million, right? Like the 800 million bucks. And we have not received a finished product right now. Star Citizen is still currently in alpha. It's not even in a beta phase at the moment. We're still at a point where the alpha build is still so buggy. There are bugged problems. There are performance issues. Like there are points where you can just get stuck in the game, just riding an elevator. A game that is so, I would say, the best way to put it, volatile, all right? Like we haven't even addressed serious key issues. And yet they're so focused on monetization that, look, I thought the whole idea of crowdfunding a video game was all to get away from like shitty publishers, right? Like shady developers that just wanted to monetize the shit out of their game at the wishes of the actual, like, you know, the actual gamer. But this is worse. Like, I'm telling you honestly, like, I wouldn't even see like Take-Two doing this. And mind you, Take-Two sells like NBA 2K games that have like casinos inside them. Rockstar with like, you know, the shark cards. I don't even see this level of monetization in like EA games. Like the closest I see this maybe is with cosmetics and like Activision stuff. But even then, Activision still produces full games that you can purchase and experience instead of shipping the market out with vaporware. And you know what? You're going to find like a bunch of Star Citizen people that will say, oh, you're just impatient. You don't really understand the scope. That's the problem, okay? The problem is you're looking at a game that is just constantly miring in feature creep. You're looking at a game that is just, its release date keeps jumping up years at this point. You know, when this game comes out, if it comes out, you know, are you okay with the release date being like 2030, in the 2030s? Maybe late 2030? Because the amount of stuff they have yet to complete and yet to properly deliver on is going to be a serious monumental task. And they're so focused on trying to eke out all of the money from their player base instead of actually delivering the multiple things that they still have. And even if they haven't delivered a whole bunch of things, it doesn't stop them from every year at CitizenCon saying, oh, maybe we'll add this feature, maybe we'll do this, maybe we'll do that. It's like the most, like, it's embarrassingly like, it's just one of the most embarrassingly bloated like game developments that I've seen in a while, in a long time. You know, most companies of Cloud Imperium size, when they blow up to like literally like a AAA publisher at this point, and they make the money that they do, they probably have like a few projects under their belt. But it's funny because I don't even think Star Citizen has a reason to come out. If you're making $1 million a fucking day, right? Like 1.4, 1.5 million. If you're making $100 million in like 11 months for a company that has not even made a completed game yet, do you even have an incentive to finish the project? Like, if you've got whales that are just buying concept ships, not even ships that they can fly at that moment of time at purchase, do you even really need to complete your game? I don't think you have to. In fact, if I was Cloud Imperium Games, if I just sit on my ass and keep making ships because people keep buying them. You know, people say like consumers have a choice and that's voting with their wallets, but with how much money they're raising, the whales really are the ultimate deciders in all this. But it is good generally, in my opinion, to see that obviously in the Star Citizen community, they do consider this to be the most unhinged monetization pivot that they've ever seen. So, you know, one person said right here, remember how they sold Star Citizen's funding model as a way to get away from cash grabbing publishers, making everything behind a paywall? Yeah, get away from predatory publishers forcing over monetization and unreasonable release dates. Here we are at 15 years of alpha development with some of the most aggressive and expensive monetization of any game ever. Not only considering the Blade and Bomb racks, they're selling a virtual ship for $1,900. I think it is important to keep that part in mind too. And it is. It really is. There are so many other space games that have come while Star Citizen has announced itself. Games like No Man's Sky that were announced, they released, they were shit at release, and they turned it around with completely free updates. Hello Games is nowhere near the size and revenue as Cloud Imperium Games, I would imagine. But their one game so far has turned itself around and become an actual beacon of what a developer should do instead of releasing dog shit and completely ignoring it. Cyberpunk was kind of announced alongside this game, I would say, back then. They released, absolutely dogshit release, but they turned it around with one of the best expansion packs that I've ever seen. And in the space of all this, there have been rival competitors like Elite Dangerous even, which maybe are not at the same level of scope or immersion as this, but they've come out, released all their content, and I think they're pretty much moving on from that. So yeah. It is just insane to see how this becomes. But yeah, I think at this point, it's pretty much safe to say that Star Citizen is a perpetual scam, and I don't actually ever fucking see it completing. And I don't see an incentive to concede. This is probably the most greedy thing that I've seen from any publisher. And it's crazy to think it's coming from like an indie publisher, technically, that hasn't even had a completed game. Make it make sense. If you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike it if you dislike it. I am out.